Challenges, there were a number of challenges. First of all, the change of government in the UK was a big challenge for us. We started, half our planning was in the Labour government and the second half was with the coalition. So a whole new set of ministers to convince, a whole new set of priorities. And then with that change of government, changing funding picture as well, this had impact for the European year because we were no longer allowed to spend too much money on communication. We had to rethink our plans and not have a communications partner, which we were planning to do originally. We had some funding in place to start work earlier. We had some money in the financial year for 2010-2011, which we lost because it wasn't committed, as all the non-committed funding was taken away from us. So that meant that we had to wait for our National Work Programme grant to be approved by the Commission, which meant we weren't able to start as soon as we wanted to. And then the Big Society agenda, a bit of a hot topic at the moment in the UK, or certainly in England, was a bit of a double-edged sword, I have to admit. I think that obviously a new government coming in right in the middle of our planning for the European year, they're very much focused on the agenda and the policies which link to the Big Society agenda and delivering those. Things like the National Citizen Service, things like our Giving Funds, the Social Action Fund, as Tamara mentioned earlier, getting those off the ground and making them successful. And to be honest, the European Year of Volunteering, although it can be seen on one level to fit very well within the Big Society agenda, it got lost, I think, in a lot of that work. So had the Big Society agenda come in the past and there had been some time to bed in, I think we could have made more of an advantage of that, but as it was, I think it did get lost in that wider agenda. And then the tour event was a real challenge for us, trying to meet the expectations that came from the Commission in terms of delivering that event. I think that, again, this was an area where we were under-resourced, both at national level and from the Commission, and I think it would have been good if there had been that process of consultation so that we could have all had a part to play in what that event was aiming to do and how it could run most effectively. I mean, we did put on, I would say it was a good event that we put on. They've had a really good agenda at that event. It ran for the full 7 days, but we didn't get the people through the door that we would like to have seen, so it didn't get the exposure that we would have liked it to have had, so that was where I think it did fall down slightly. So building on the European year, as I mentioned before, we had AGK doing some great work at the end of the European Year of Volunteering, and hopefully that's going to really lead into 2012. And I know that Joe's predecessor, Gwen, was already talking to AGK about how that work can take forward. This is the first time I'm meeting Joe, which it kind of goes against what I was saying earlier about us all talking to each other, but I'm sure we'll have some conversations after this. So that's a really important way in which we've tried to build on 2011 and going forward to 2012. Certainly for me, the European year going forward allowed us to continue to look at some of the issues in volunteering which aren't part of the central Big Society agenda. So employer-supported volunteering, opening the doors to volunteering to underrepresented groups, and volunteer management. Still important issues, but not currently at the centre of the agenda. So through the European year, we've been able to take those forward. And what I'm hoping to do is to use the learning from the projects which we've been funding during the year to try and influence what we're going to do in the second half of this Parliament on volunteering. We've got funding which is there for volunteering and social action, not allocated yet. So there's an opportunity to try and feed into that process that will allocate that. And as I've said before, some great resources, and I'm hoping that those great resources, which Sam mentioned, they're all available for free through Volunteering England's website, or as links to the organisations that led on those projects. Some really good resources that came out to support volunteering, and I'm hoping that those will have a legacy for a long time to come.
The first thing that did struck me was what Tom mentioned about the change in government. Nothing was as more shocking to us as the curtain that came down on all our funding when they changed governments, and as such we don't have any resources to help anybody with anything for the European Year of Active Ageing, unfortunately. We, in the DWP, unfortunately we have quite a limited role with all of this, and I think the name of the game is going to be very much about linking up with people and partnerships and making contacts. And I think what Katie was saying about everybody, getting together and working together and sharing. In the short time that I have been doing this, I've sort of been overwhelmed with offers of help, of sharing information, networks, and I think that's how it's going to have to work, because marketing budgets have also gone out the window with everything else, it seems. So for this year, a lot of what we're planning is going to be around building up partnerships, building up networks with people. But for the most part, it's going to be very cheekily trying to encourage people to think about it, innovative projects, programmes, which we're of course expecting everybody else to fund without any help from us. And so we're going to try and get the ball rolling on this, but we've actually established a steering group, which the first meeting is next Wednesday, again here at Europe House. This is the centre of all things EY 2012. Because my office is rubbish and you can't ever get a room there, so we're going to do everything here. That's got about 30 members, again key stakeholders. We've got Age UK, we've got Beth Johnson Foundation, we have got, who else have we got? We've invited some business and employer representatives, but they don't seem to be too keen either, which is a bit unfortunate. I think it's getting this message out. What I'm conscious of is I don't want to put too much of a government emphasis on it, because we always find that the first thing that puts people off is saying the government are involved or the government want you to do. So it's kind of trying to find that balance between saying you really need to do this, you really need to do this for the sake of, you know, older people and you know, intergenerational issues, but without kind of almost trying to keep us out of it, which is kind of a bit of a contradiction given that I'm from the government and I'm the coordinator. But anywho. So we're going to have a steering group at which we're going to, it's the first one, as I say, so I think it's very much going to be unravelling what we want the year to be about, how we want to take it forward. We're going to come up with a list of events that people are holding, and then so we can start to promote those, get those out there. I think there's a sign-up list out by the cloakroom where if people want to be included in a mailing list, I'll take all your details and take that away with me, so I can just let you know what's going on where. Some of it's in the UK, some of it's in Europe, but again it's just getting that information out there. I can let you know some of the things that are happening in the UK during 2012. Some of this I know is in planning form only, and will be discussed more at our steering group, but there's a few things going on in March. There's potentially an age-friendly cities and environment seminar going on in March. The Greater London Forum for Older Working People with Enfield are having an event in March. The TAME, which is the Age Employment Network, isn't it? Yes. I'm not good with acronyms, sorry. They're having a debate on the impact of media images of older people and their impact on the opportunities at work, and that's on the 28th of March at 6 PM at BT headquarters. That's a definite one, that's been confirmed. The Beth Johnson Foundation are arranging an event to mark their first year at Stormont in Northern Ireland, and that's going to be in April, but again that's got to be confirmed. There's a Kinship Carers Summit in May. Keele University are doing a Generations Ageing Together event, that's in the summer. There's also, I think, plans to do a countryside fair, which is going to be a weekend of intergenerational activities somewhere in the northwest. Again, that's in the planning at the moment. There's the World Congress on Active Ageing in Glasgow. I think that's for about 4 or 5 days in August. And we, the DWP, finally do have something. We have the Older People's Day in 2012. Of course, that's not specific to EY 2012, but it's this year. It's linking up with EY 2012, which is always a good day. And I know last year we had, I think there was something like 70,000 sort of commitments to hold. They don't necessarily just do it on the 1st of October, they do it, sometimes they start in September and it tends to go through till November, where people run events and activities for older people. And so that will be going ahead this year as well. And I think that's me, that's me done.
Thank you very much. So, lots going on but no money.
Pretty much, yes.
As long as we do it ourselves.
So long as everybody else pays for it.
Brilliant.